Hey guys, welcome to Color Acres. Today I'm going to show you how to rehydrate your sourdough starter. So recently I posted a video on dehydrating your sourdough starter. It's just a great way to have some extra on hand. That way, if something happens to your starter, you don't have to start all the way over at the beginning again, because once you have a well-established starter, you really don't want to start all over because it just keeps getting better and better. It's also a fantastic way to gift it to friends, coworkers, neighbors, whoever wants to start making some sourdough and wants to just not have to start the process of getting that going on their own. You can gift them some of your dried starter, and then this way, gifting it to them dry versus wet, which you can do as well. If they're not ready to use it immediately and they don't have to start feeding it right away, if it's dried, they just get it going whenever they're ready, versus you give it to them when it's already, in the liquid form. Your active sourdough starter, I guess is what I'm wanting to say. They've got to start feeding that right away, and maybe they're not ready right away. Or you know what, you can even mail this to someone, if you have someone that lives far away and wants some. So it's just a great thing to have on hand. Also, I did have a comment, and thank you for that, guys. I love your comments, from someone who said they had some in the freezer and got it out and it started great. So I do plan to try freezing some of this also. So in that video that I shared with you, I originally just had mine in pieces in the jar. Since then, I blended it because I keep adding to it. So this is several times that I've dried my starter now. As you can see, I'm on a roll. I've got this almost filled up. Once this is all the way full, then I'm gonna put some in the freezer and try that. I just wanna, I don't know, just kind of addicted to drying it now. Why not, right? So here's some I have going. As you can see here in the middle, it's not quite all of the way dry yet, but about another day or so, I can break this into pieces, throw it in my blender, blend it up, add it to my jar. Why not? You have to discard anyway if you're leaving your sourdough starter out on the counter. So why not just discard and dry it versus discard into the garbage? Unless you're using it in a recipe, of course. And if you're doing a lot of baking, then maybe you're not having to throw a lot away, but I don't know, it's kind of a nice way to not waste, I feel. So again, back to rehydrating this. We're gonna start by dissolving 50 grams of that dried sourdough with water, some warm water. I've got some water here. We wanna make this into like a paste. So I'm gonna first dump this into my jar. I'm just gonna pour in a little water at a time, give it a stir. Again, we're trying to just make this into a paste, dissolve it all the way into the water. And then once this has completely dissolved, which might take a few hours or so, then we're going to add the flour to it. But first we need to get this dissolved. I'm excited to see how fast it takes to get this going and get it bubbly again. I have not rehydrated before. So this way I'll have a better idea when I go to gift this to somebody, to let them know exactly how long it's probably gonna take them to get it ready to bake with. Because obviously that's gonna be what you wanna know. I'm gonna put just a little more in there. I'm gonna let this set out on my counter. And again, once this is completely dissolved into the water, I'm gonna loosely cover the jar also. I'm gonna put a lid on, but not screw it on. I'm just gonna set a lid on top. And then I'll be back to add some flour. Okay, it's been 3 hours and my starter is all nice and dissolved into my water. So now we're gonna add flour. I have 50 grams of flour. Gonna dump that in, stir that up. It's a little bit thicker than I want it to be, so I'm gonna add just a little more water, which I have right here. Then all you're gonna do is you're gonna do what you do normally with your starter. You're just gonna continue feeding this until it gets nice and bubbly. So we'll see how long it takes to get this nice and bubbly and active and ready to use. And then we'll know how long it takes to wake up this dehydrated sourdough starter. A little more water in there. Then again, just loosely cover it, just like you would your normal starter. Leave it on the counter. We'll take a look at it tomorrow and see what's happening and feed again. There we go. See you back tomorrow. Okay, it's the next morning. I'm gonna just feed a little more flour and water. Nothing really happening yet, so gonna continue feeding twice a day until we get this active. Just a little bit of flour and a little bit of water, not a whole lot. So I'm not discarding yet. I do kind of have this in a small jar. I might move it to a bigger one. Get our lid back on nice and loose, and then I'll be back to feed it again this evening. All right, it's been just 24 hours since I rehydrated my starter and fed it the first time. I fed it again this morning, as you saw, and look at it. It is looking really good, nice and bubbly. I mean, it's getting there. It's not to where I would use it to bake with yet, but for 24 hours, that looks amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and just feed it a little bit more, not much, just a tiny bit tonight. And we'll see what it looks like again in the morning. Just a little bit of flour, a little bit of water. Stir it up, but it is coming along really, really nicely. Much easier than starting from scratch, that's for sure. If you needed to, if something happened to your current starter, this is definitely way better than starting all the way over. Looking really good. Can't wait to see what it does tomorrow. Okay, gonna get that lid just again loosely, and we'll look at it again tomorrow. It's morning. This looks really, really good again. It's doing great. It's nice and bubbly. It's starting to grow. I'm gonna have to put this in a larger jar now. Otherwise, this is gonna end up overflowing. So as you've probably noticed, I'm not discarding. I just continue feeding it a little bit, and it is getting there pretty quick. So let's dump this into a larger jar. Feed it a little more, and we're gonna soon know exactly how long it takes to be ready to bake with this, which we're not too far off. And again, it's only been like 36 hours since we started this, so pretty good. Add a little water, stir up. All right, looks good. Again, I'm just gonna get my lid back on here, set this aside, and I'll be back this evening and we'll see how it's looking. Okay, so not even 48 hours later, this starter that I rehydrated is ready to go and ready to bake with. So as you saw, I rehydrated it. That took a little while to get it all the way dissolved. You wanna do that first, then I fed it, and I started this in the evening. So I fed it before bed. The next day I fed it in the morning and the evening again, which you saw in the video. And then this morning I fed it a 4th time. So it's been fed 4 times total since I rehydrated it, but it's been less than 48 hours. It will be 48 hours later this evening. And it is nice and bubbly. It almost doubled today after I fed it. Not quite, but almost. And that's what you want. You want it to double or come close to it. If it isn't exactly, that's okay. It's nice and bubbly though. It's ready to go, ready to bake with. So now we know if you're going to gift this dehydrated starter to someone, then they need only about 48 hours and they will be ready to roll with it. So there you go, guys. Pretty simple. I definitely recommend doing this, and I am going to bake with this and see what happens. It should be just the same as my other starter. It looks the same and it's just ready to go. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you try dehydrating your starter. I think it's definitely worth it. Good to have that backup. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. And if you are, thank you for subscribing to our channel, and give us a like if you're enjoying our videos.